Hey everybody, my name is Keith Fabbri, heavyweight bodybuilder. Doing the 2021 NPC Universe in the Masters 40 class for sure, possibly the 35 too. Right, current weight, I'm about 219 to 221 pounds morning weight, 6 weeks out. Off season, I got up this year, probably the heaviest I've ever been, 263 pounds. Previously, usually I would sit around 245 to 255. We pushed things a little harder this off season, wanting to put on some exercise, which I managed to do by getting up to about 263. Right around mid-February, early February, when I hit that mark, and then I kind of held it in the high 250s until we started dieting, and now it's kind of slowly whittling down.
Just like guessing, but how much lean mass do you think you put on last season?
If I had to guess, anywhere from 7 to 9 pounds, somewhere in there, of muscle tissue, since last July. And that was the goal. The goal was to try to get as close to 10 pounds as possible. If I got 5, it was good. If I could get 10, that'd be optimal. And at 42 years old, 5 pounds is great. 10 would have been. 10 was kind of like shooting for the moon a little bit, but I'd be curious to see once I strip down and stuff how close I really was. My guess right now is right around probably. Yeah, I'm definitely big. I'm bigger in the lats for sure. Mostly viewed from the front. There's more thickness there, front to back. I've got more density to my back, especially my lower lats and stuff, than what I had before. So that all came up, and my arms came up a little bit. Probably a little more roundness through the delts and stuff. Chest is still about the same. Legs are the same. My hamstrings are bigger from the side. I can notice there's more drop there than there has been in the past. Yeah. So, I mean, we put on a little bit of everywhere, and I think most noticeably though is in my back, which is what needed to come up the most to kind of even out my lower body, because I've always been pretty lower body dominant. I'm really quad dominant. I just always have been, and I always will be. Actually trained quads hard once a month this off season. That was it. And the other leg day that I did, because I only trained legs twice a month in the off season, was more of like volume and just trying to pump some blood in there. So I had one heavy leg day a month, and then white and light leg day a month, and that's kind of how I even myself out over to try to get a little bit more. So I did back twice a week.
What's your split, the rest of your split like?
So in the off season, I was training back twice a week. I was doing a width and a thickness split. I would split those up 3 days apart, and I would just rotate my days through. So it was chest and biceps, and then I would do legs every other week. And then on the days that I didn't do legs, I would do back width. And then I would do shoulders and triceps, and then back thickness later in the week. And if it was a week where I had to train 5, I would just throw the back width in after legs, and then go. So I was training 4 days one week, 5 days the next. So it was 9 days out of 14 that I was actually training. I had 5 off days in there, and we pushed things up to almost 6,000 calories a day at one point, trying to get me up to that 260 mark. That was kind of like the benchmark, was if I can get to 260, and I'm not like bloated fat where you can't tell that I look like a bodybuilder, we're good. And even at 260, you could still tell in the morning when I woke up that I was dry. I still had ab outline and stuff. You could still see like my obliques and stuff. You could see lines there. My waist wasn't blowing out by any means, so I had shape still, and it wasn't a circle. So, a circle is a shape, isn't it? Yeah. No. I still had a V taper, X frame and stuff. It was just a little bit bigger than what, a little less pronounced than what it would be for contest prep. So that was kind of like the goal, was to push things up. And between me and Justin Compton, we kind of came up with a plan, and he put it down on paper. I executed it, and it worked. Yeah. So now it's a matter of trying to bring everything in like 2 or 3% tighter than we did a year ago. And if I do that, I got a good chance of walking out in a top 5 situation. So that's the goal. Ultimate goal is to win, obviously, but if I land in the top 5, I'll be happy.
Go ahead and tell us just briefly, but I know you did arms today, and just talk about your arm workout a little bit and the movements you did and stuff.
Yeah, so it's the day that I hate the most. I absolutely hate training arms, and it's just boring. When you DC train, and I put like biceps with something else or triceps with something else, and then I get into prep and I start combining other muscle groups together to try to get more frequency out of it. I'll do an arm day and during prep, and I don't like doing it, but it's kind of necessary during prep, I think, to get everything else kind of scheduled in so that I can train, because I like to get everything hit twice in a 6-day span during prep, except for legs. Legs is once a week. That's once every 6 days, and everything else gets twice. So in order to get that in, I've got to put the arm day in there, so things aren't running into each other. So normal for me arm day week. This is pretty much as normal as possible because everything was available, which was nice. I'll start off on a machine curl, and I like a supported machine curl where my arm is at 90 degrees away from my body. I feel like I get a lot more stretch and I get a better contraction. That way I can actually focus on pulling the weight back behind my ear. So the Cybex one that we have here works out really, really well for that. If I had to, number 2 would be a cable preacher. I would use that one arm at a time. That works pretty well too, but the angle's not quite as good as getting my arm up to a full 90 away from my body. I like that angle, so that's why I like that machine. So I do, typical for me is a couple warm-up sets, get everything kind of in working order, get all the kinks worked out. And the next movement follows the same pattern, and that is I alternate biceps, triceps. So I'll do a bicep movement all the way through, and then I'll go do a tricep movement all the way through, and then I'll go back and do a bicep movement and then a tricep. So it's called zigzagging. I'm going from one to the next instead of doing all my bicep moves. In this case, the push down station that I like was used. So I went over the free motion machine, which actually has 2 cables on it, and you can stand in front of it, and it's actually for rowing. But I just stood in front of it and grabbed the balls on the connectors and just did it that way, and that worked out because it's about shoulder width. So back to biceps, and I did pinwheel curls, which is a favorite of mine. So people that don't know what a pinwheel curl is, it's like a hammer curl, crossbody hammer curl, but I keep my arm way out in front of me, and I don't go across my body with it. I just curl it straight up, and I actually try to turn my wrist out a little bit. So I get brachialis on the way up, and then I get a little bit of bicep contraction at the top, extra contraction. And I do it with a thumbless grip, which I learned from Dante Trudell, as opposed to grabbing the dumbbell like this, where you're getting a lot of brachioradialis and some extensor on your more forearm work in there and getting a less bicep and brachialis. I do it with a thumbless grip, so I'm literally just holding onto it, and my thumb is bracing the dumbbell. I get more bicep and brachialis contraction that way and less forearm. So that's how I do those. Overhead extension on an iCarrion machine is just basically like doing a skull crusher or like a French press, but on a cable. Same structure, 2 heavy sets. I use what's called a stretch load on that. Another Dante Trudell DC technique where I'll get the weight down real low to the bottom and I'll lower it slowly. And when I get into the bottom position, I kind of let the weight fall back and stretch the tricep before I contract it and go back the other direction. I wasn't doing a full stretch load where I would leave the bottom position and then explode back out, just because the joints are a little tender. I don't want to cause any injuries. But I was letting it come back and just getting a small amount of stretch before I would contract. So we did that. That's a favorite of mine. I do that every arm workout. I do a version of that, maybe with that or with dumbbells. Sometimes I do it like on an incline bench with a easy bar, and I'll do it that way. But I like that machine. Whenever it's available, I'll use it. After that, I went over to the cable station and I set up with an easy bar attachment and just did cable curls, and I did sets of 20. So kind of like a Widowmaker set. I'm probably only going to get 15 or 16, but I'm gonna find 20. Even if I got to take deep breaths in between to get 2 singles, so I get to 20 reps and partials count. So I did 2 sets of that, one with an outside grip, a little bit wider grip on the easy bar, and then one with an inside grip. And then I did a rope push down, and I did the same thing on that. I just did 2 sets of the rope push down to about 20 reps. Trying to get 20 anyway. I think I failed on one where I got to like 18. And then the last thing I did was a superset, which now that I'm getting closer to the show, I'm going to do that just to kind of burn glycogen out, make sure I'm flat. I'm trying to leave everything here. I don't want to have anything left in the tank when I leave the gym. So I want to completely flatten out, completely get rid of all glycogen, all energy stores. So when I do my cardio post-workout now, I'm burning body fat for fuel. I don't have anything left. And then I can get my half hour in, go home, eat, and go to bed, pretty much. I'm doing 45 minutes in the morning fasted, which typically I just walk outside. If it's raining or in Michigan snowing in the middle of June, because it happens. I do have a recumbent bike in my house, so I can do that too if need be. I just don't like driving cross town to the gym, and I refuse to go to Planet Fitness. Well, it wouldn't be. I have a membership, and it wouldn't be bad if they didn't make you wear masks. But I'm not doing a fucking cardio on a step mill with a damn mask on my face. I'm not doing it. I'm going to hyperventilate. I already have breathing I'm already asthmatic as it is. And of all the things in the world that I can suck at, breathing is one of them. So I don't want to make it any worse than what it is. So rather than go there and deal with a mask situation, and this is 20 minutes across town for me. So I literally would have to be up at like 3:30 to get it all in and drive back so I could get all my stuff together and then go to work, because I have to be to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. So rather that I just walk around my neighborhood. I got hills and stuff in there, and I look like one of the mall walkers, power walking my way around and stuff with 2 sweatshirts and everything on, just sweating from head to toe. So it works out okay. And then when I'm done here, I either jump on the step mill or I use the treadmill on a high incline. It just depends on what I trained that day and or the day before. Like yesterday I did legs. I'm not using the step mill today. I used a high incline treadmill yesterday. I'll probably do the same thing today. Tomorrow, legs will feel a little more fresh and stuff. I'll jump on the step mill. They get beat up enough at work. I don't need to beat them up any more than they're already at. So incline dumbbell curls on an incline bench. I just kind of laid it back, say like a 15-degree angle, and laid back on it. Just enough to kind of get a stretch in the long head of the bicep, but not enough to put any kind of strain on my shoulder, because this shoulder I've torn a pec and a rotator cuff in the last 3 years on it now. I don't need any more damage done to it, so it kind of bothers it if I go back too far. So I did that for as many reps as I could get, and there was like 15, 16 reps to failure. And then I went and did rope overhead extensions, same thing, just jump into a superset, two of those and done, and then it was on to calves.
Do you always do calves?
I usually do them first, but I wanted to get to the arm stuff today. Rather than do the calves, because nobody will be on a calf raise when I get done, but everybody will be over here if because normally this is not my normal time to train. Normally I'm about 7 o'clock at night when it starts to clear out, and we got here at 4. So normal calf day for me is twice a week calves. One day I'll do just seated calf raise, and I did 3 working sets today, two sets with 4 plates for about 9 or 10 reps each, and then I did a back off set with 3 plates. I think I got like almost 20. I'm dealing with a calf tear, so I probably shouldn't be doing it in the first place, but I'm stubborn, so oh well. I tore my left calf like 6 weeks ago, so it's just starting to get better now. To where I can train almost normal again. Off season, I was doing almost 6 plates on that seated now, so the weights come way down. But anything more than like that 4, I can feel it pulling. So I don't want to damage anything or take any chances. So, and on the other day when I do it, I'll do the seateds, but I'll do high rep seateds. Everything's over 20 reps on there to really push some blood in there, and then I'll go do a donkey calf raise, and I'll do heavy donkey calf raises, and I'll do 2 or 3 working sets with that too. So that's normal calf training for me. This time today it was just the one movement, and that was it. So we did a little posing, and we'll be doing cardio later.
What's your diet like now, man? As opposed to when you're on?
My diet. So we pushed to 6,000 calories in the off season. Then we pulled it back a little bit before we were going to get ready to start prep. I had about a 3 or 4 week time period in there where I just kind of cruised and just kind of held my weight as high as I could without stuffing myself, because People don't realize that it's not fun to eat 6,000 calories a day. Everybody wants to be big until they actually start doing it, and then they're like, this sucks worse than prep. I would rather be dieting than trying to stuff myself in the off season. It's a nightmare. I don't have the biggest appetite in the world either to begin with, and it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. So we did that, we kind of held it, and then slowly but surely the food's just kind of come down. Right now, currently, I'm still eating about 400 grams of protein on a training day, about 350 on an off day. Carbohydrates are about 75 grams a day right now, 6 weeks out. Fats are pretty much minuscule and not there except for what I get from some ground beef and steak. So we're less than 20 grams of fat a day, which works best for me is low fats. And tried to keep the food as high as we could, as long as we could, which actually, believe it or not, I was looking back at last year at this time, 6 weeks out. I had already been on pretty much protein and veggies for like 3 weeks at this point and doing double sessions of 45 minutes of cardio. We're not there, and I'm right about the same as I was a year ago, maybe even a little bit ahead as far as how lean I am, and up. I'm up 10 pounds, 10 full pounds from morning weight from where I was a year ago. There's a little bit more water retention because I was off work last year at this time, still just getting ready to go back to work, and I've been working this whole time. So that plays a role in the water retention. So I up 10 pounds, probably 2 of it's water, so about 8 pounds or so, heavier than what I was a year ago. I'm anticipating that the carbs are going to go down to nothing here soon, and we'll zero carb it as long as we can. The good thing with Justin is that we'll do this for 3, 4, 5 days in a row where I just push things real hard, and then it'll be like, 300 extra grams of carbohydrates from spread throughout the day, whatever, pick whatever of these 3 sources you want for carbs, and just throw them in wherever you want. Okay. That's my little refeed, and then, pictures again in 3 days, and then he'll see what I look like in 3 days and how much I weigh, and we'll go from there. So he gives me refeeds pretty frequently and just pushes the shit out of me in between. So that's normal. And as we get closer, there won't be those refeeds anymore. It'll just be death until the end. My refeed will be the 2 days that I carb load prior to the show.
People you'd like to thank, friends, family?
Yeah, Justin Compton does my nutrition. Good, he's been a good friend of mine for a while, and he brought me in the best I'd ever been last year, and he's just going to get better this year. My off season, the best off season I've ever had in my entire bodybuilding career ever. I made the most progress and the oldest. I mean, at 42 years old, right?
He knows his shit.
Yeah, he does. He knows, and he listens to what I have to say, because I know my own body pretty well. And if I tell him some feedback about this, he's like, okay, well, let's try it. And then if it works, we stick with it until it doesn't work anymore. So obviously Justin, my girlfriend Jenny, God bless her for putting up with me, because I'm not easy to put up with. Not at all. My kids, Kayla, my 13-year-old, almost 14-year-old daughter. My 2 boys, Kyson, who's 5, Colton, who's 3.5. That's my mini-me. That's the one that we thought he broke his collarbone the other day because he body slammed his big Hulk toy. And he spent the night, or part of the night, in the hospital, getting looked at. And then the next day, he's running around, running into things like nothing happened, so he's fine. And then I got some friends and stuff. Obviously, here, John Pitch has the gym here at Maximus where I train. Does a good job with this gym as far as bringing in the right crowd of people to make it easier and stuff. There's a lot of competitors in this gym, and everybody here pretty much knows who's competing and when they're competing, and it's a pretty good atmosphere. People ask you how you're doing, so and exactly, and they know when it's like, hey, just leave him alone today. He doesn't look very happy. So yeah, we've got a lot of that going. So everybody here at Maximus, obviously, I'd like to thank for support and stuff. Valhalla Labs, Dr. Todd Lee, and Howie Silverstein, the owners of that. They sponsor me, supplementation and that kind of stuff. And then Kodiak Bodybuilding Apparel. One of their hats right here. They give me all sorts of training gear and stuff, and I can't thank them enough for what they've done. and I'm probably missing a whole bunch of shit right now, and brain's kind of going foggy. It's been a long day, and I haven't eaten since just before I got here, so we're getting a little low on food. Yeah, that's probably it right there as far as people just, I mean, right out of the, I got a couple like Dominic Kuza, good friend of mine. He's always checking up on me and stuff, and we joke around and stuff. When he was dieting, I'd kind of keep his spirits up, and now it's vice versa. So, yeah.
He's a good coach. He's a good guy.
Yeah, good guy, great coach. Really a great coach. In a short amount of time, he's done a lot of good things with a lot of people and helped a lot of people. And then obviously all my clients for bearing with me, because sometimes I can get a little grumpy when I'm talking to them.